Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the one and thankfully the only Jerry Springer.
Oh, play.
Mwah.
Thank you.
And I mean that.
Yeah. Hey, here we are again, and this is going out live just as we talk, right?
Live streaming at jerryspringer.com. Also live, we think. It's the second time we've done it. It worked the last time.
So I
On
can no
Facebook.
longer lie about where
on
I am.
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live.
Facebook video,
Live.
live streaming there.
Yeah.
And by the way, a little bit later, Jerry's going to talk about, I consider it controversial, occasional articles that make these comparisons between Donald Trump, the nominee now for the Republican Party for president, and Adolf Hitler. I mean, it's an extreme comparison.
They've been in some
we'll
real publications
Yeah.
talking about fascism and, is he moving in that direction?
Yeah.
Is he the modern day Hitler? Well, we'll get
into
talk
that.
about it.
And also, we have David Faul performing tonight. David, he'll be doing a couple songs later on.
Yep.
And check this out. We're going to talk to Jesus Noguera from Cuba, from Havana, Cuba.
We met him when we were in Cuba.
He was our
real
guide
person.
and translator. And
Great
we
guy.
have
He is a great guy.
new segment called Ask the Cuban Socialist. And people have sent in email questions, and we probably have some of our own. We're going to be bringing him on shortly. I'm also, in this sort of introductory phase of the podcast tonight, embarrassed to say that when I went to look for new material, a new joke, I do show prep.
You do show press, so you
Yes.
prepare a joke for each show.
I go and steal something off the internet that looks like
Well,
I
this
probably
is
won't get
creative.
sued by anybody.
Google something.
I Google something. But here's what I found, Megan.
What's
What'd
your
you
new
find,
joke?
Gene?
And Megan, I was embarrassed for you and me, but I found that there are a whole bunch of Jerry Springer jokes.
Oh my God, I never even thought
Yeah,
about
I mean,
that.
how many ways
can
can this
Google
guy
that?
hurt the culture? You know what I'm saying?
I never
There really
thought about that.
are?
Are there really?
You could go right now onto your phone
Well,
and
don't
just
tell
say,
people that. then
Well,
they'll-
absolutely I am. I'm sorry.
You mean jokes that I make?
There,
or
no, there are
jokes
jokes
about you.
no, not necessarily about you, but just jokes that are associated with the Jerry Springer brand. I mean, it all starts with Megan, knock knock,
Who's there?
yo.
Yo who?
Yo, mama. But I mean, that's not a Jerry Springer joke, but that
No.
leads into one. That
No, it's
leads
a bad
into
one.
one.
And what's this one?
Well, this one is
Who's there? Ho.
No.
no, but it's like
Yo ho.
there's
Oh
a
my
joke
God.
on the
43
internet.
Jerry Springer jokes by professional comedians. Ruh-roh.
Really?
You see? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
And there's one.
Do they have to pay me?
I guess not.
Yo mama is so big that she could be on Jerry Springer, Ricky Lake at the same time.
Whoa.
I mean, there's an example of what you'll find if you go into those jokes.
And
They're
that's
horrible.
dated by
That was-
every
they're
way you
horrible.
slice
I
it.
agree. That was a
They're
horrible
insensitive.
joke. They're insensitive. What if they hurt my feelings?
Oh, well, I don't know if anybody's worried about that, actually. But, and so, Lisa, I did some show prep, and Jerry, I know you come prepared. I know you've come with some new material. So now we're going to turn the spotlight and the camera.
Well, I don't have any new jokes. I mean, we were talking the other day, and this in joke. My parents, they didn't. I was never sure that they really loved me, and I wasn't a good-looking kid. I'm not good-looking now, but as a kid, I was really. I mean, my mom had morning sickness after I was born.
But
No, it was really bad.
Jerry,
and I
actually has
remember
new
I had a
material.
first
Yeah, more
job.
go.
One of my first jobs when I was in high school, I worked at a pet store.
Really?
And people kept coming in and asking the owner if I would get any bigger. It was terrible.
This is
One
impressive.
night, one day my parents took me to Coney Island in New York. Great amusement park in New York. And I got lost. And I lost him. And I was a little kid, so I started crying, of course. And then I saw some security guy there, and I went up and I said, "I've lost my mommy and daddy. Could you help me find them?" So he was nice. He took me around, and I asked him, "Do you think we'll ever find them?" And I remember him saying, "Well, there are only so many places they can hide."
This is amazing.
this is so. It's amazing is a word.
That was like 4. Hey, and when you were a young boy, you
Yes.
were poor, as I recall.
I
heard
was
from
so
this.
poor, my parents couldn't afford to have any kids. The neighbors had me.
I mean, to tell you what, it's really going somewhere tonight.
What is? And this is on video? People
It sure
can get
is.
this?
Yeah.
Wave. It's right
Aren't
there.
you so poor you couldn't afford to pay attention even? I mean,
geez.
hey, no, look. Here's the thing. We have we have several things going on tonight. We're going to talk to Jesus, and let's actually set that up a little bit. Do you remember, Jerry and Megan, we went to Cuba?
It's only 2 weeks ago. How old?
I have a recollection.
How old do you think I am that I can't remember
Vague
that 2 weeks ago I went to
Be too
Cuba?
sure.
Do you
Never be
remember
too
that
sure.
time?
Yeah, where was that? Cuba. Yeah.
And so we went to Cuba.
We did.
And we had a heck of a time.
It was
actually
wonderful.
phenomenal.
It was amazing.
Great trip.
And we organized all that through. We teamed up with, hired an organization in New York City called the Center for Cuban Studies.
Right.
And we should recommend them too.
they were
They're easy
amazing.
to find on
Excellent.
the
Great
internet.
people.
They're very
Yeah.
good. They really know what they're doing. It's a nonprofit organization. And so one of their subcontractors, I would think, was Jesus Noguera, if you're
Noguera.
not trilling the R and speaking American.
Yeah.
And
And
Jesus,
Jesus is really Jesus, right?
it is.
But yeah.
Yeah. And he was really good.
Yeah.
Really a fun guy, knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable.
Just sort of knew as much as we knew, and he was from not our country, but he was just, and that had never been to America. Tried twice. Do
Yeah.
you remember that?
Yep.
To go to America.
Can't get a visa.
And he has not been able to get a visa. So it's not that Cuba won't let him out. It's that America will not give him a visa. And when we asked him about that, he says they never give you a reason why.
Right.
Whether it's random, whether it's numbers, I don't know. But nonetheless, but he knew so much. So what we did is we created this segment called Ask the Cuban Socialist.
Yes.
And so we're going to have Jesus on a landline. We're calling all the way to Cuba. Jerry and Megan, you know this, but Jerry sometimes lags a little bit behind on this sort of stuff. You don't have to shout.
Right.
It's a
Even
long
if he's
distance
far
call.
away?
Doesn't matter. You can talk in a normal voice. We'll be able to
Does
hear
the
you.
wind have to be blowing in that direction?
It's irrelevant. It's all electronic.
Sort of.
is
He's not
amazing.
lying. He's not.
Yeah, thanks, Megan, for
He's not-
corroborating
He
that.
did not believe you.
Can
Yeah, I
you
know.
get it on this phone?
No.
Yeah, he's holding up his flip phone. About they actually will give you money if you go into Verizon to take those off the shelf. To
get them out of
They're not just
circulation.
free. They'll give you $20 if you'll take one of those.
I can get $20.
Yeah, you can sell that on
Buy phone.
Craigslist. So we got some questions, and I'm
Yes.
just going to run down these. We're going to call up Jesus Noguera. Why don't we do that,
Yeah,
David,
let's
and
do that.
get him on the line? I'll give you some examples of some of the questions we've got, and I'll give you the first one here. We've gotten them from all over. We put the word out, and the bat signal really worked, and we got questions from one from San Francisco, one from Orlando, Florida. Here's one.
And you're going to give him the question.
Going to
when
give
we
him
get
the
on
questions
line,
when we
and
get
then
him
we'll
on. I got
his
one
answer.
from Stanford, Connecticut.
And he's a
That's
Cuban socialist.
Interesting. He's a Cuban
Well,
socialist.
if you're Cuban, you're going to be a socialist. at least.
Well, you know, it's going to be one of the questions.
what-
Are people?
Still communists, or have they moved over toward socialism?
Well, we're going to ask him
are
about that,
all
and the
citizens.
percentage of people who are who are members of
subscribe.
the Communist Party who
Right.
live in Cuba. That's an interesting question right there. Is
Yeah.
it everybody? Is it a few? But anyway, we have questions from Cook, Minnesota. We have. I'm sure we're going to have some of our own too. So in fact,
Oigo.
okay, listen.
it.
We
We
got
got
it. Hey, Seuss. Hello.
Hey, hi.
Hey, Jesus Noguera.
Yeah,
I'm happy
How are
to be
you,
with you.
Jesus?
we miss you.
We do miss you. We want to come back.
Thank you. Yeah, please, I miss you too. Come back.
Okay, we'll be there Thursday.
Okay.
I thought it would be tomorrow.
Yeah. Hey, it's good to hear your voice, Jesus, and good for all of us. It's great technology. So we're welcome to the Jerry Springer podcast, and we're here at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky, a place where we will take you when you come to the United States,
Yeah.
because I'm sure one day that will happen. And but Jesus, we love that you're doing this with us, and we may do it more than just tonight. We'd like to, maybe make you an occasional crew member, and Casey Campbell's in the house too, but you've got Megan on a microphone, Jerry Springer, me, Gene Galvin.
Yep.
And maybe
Yes.
we'll start off with, we have some questions that have come to us, and let's just start with one. It'll give you an idea of how we'll do this. This comes from Ellen from San Francisco, and she says, America has a homelessness problem. That's true, isn't it, Jerry and
Yes,
Megan?
that is.
Jesus, if you come to the United States, you will see, and by the way, that America means the United States, because there's Central America, South America,
Yeah.
and North
So
America.
there's a homelessness problem. And is there one in Cuba?
Thank you, Helen. Well, not really. We don't have that major problem in Cuba with homelessness. The government have a guarantee for everybody a house to stay. And it is true, housing is a major problem in Cuba. There are many generations living together. But when you walk up and down the streets in Havana, you don't see that problem as you could see in the United States. No, it's not a problem. Not really.
That is true. And isn't it true? I remember you talking to us about it, that everyone has a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases, the people there actually, and they don't have a lot of money, obviously, but they own their own home. They actually.
That is correct.
And there are few, obviously, and there's some that rent.
Yes, sure. More than 80% of the houses in Cuba are privately owned. When I say privately owned, it is that they belong to the family, they belong to an owner, and if you're not the owner of a house, if the family is not the owner of a house, they have to pay less than 10% of the income of the family for a number of years. When they pay the value of the house becomes private, their house. We don't have to pay rent for the house. We don't have to pay anything else, just the value of the house to the bank. And that could be in 5, 10, 15 years. It depends on the money you pay every month. But when you do that, you are the owner of a house. You are allowed to sell it or to swap your property for another house. That is the most common way in which Cubans can get a new house. Also, Cubans can have two houses, but few Cubans, in fact, have two houses. One is in the city, and the other one could be either the countryside or on the beach, and that's the law in Cuba.
Wow.
See, now that's
It's like a
something
summer.
probably many
We
people
can't
in the
conceive
United
of it
States
here in
would know
America.
that. Or
Right.
didn't
That every
understand that.
citizen has a home, and over 80% of the Cuban citizens own their own homes. If you don't yet own your home, you're in it and you pay rent, but the rent is never more than 10% of whatever your income is. And you keep paying that.
To the bank, we don't pay rent. We pay like a mortgage.
A mortgage.
We pay the value of the house.
I see.
Yes, you pay rent when you don't have a house, and you pay rent to a private individual, another an owner. But that is a very small percentage of Cubans.
Right.
What the largest number of Cubans is doing is to pay the value of the house. And when you pay all that, then you are the owner of the house. And that, according to the law, the money you pay to the bank has to be less than 10% of the income of the family.
Okay.
Wow.
That's very interesting. Also, here's another question from Orlando, Florida. What's the effect, Jesus, of the U.S. embargo on the average Cuban? What would you say the effect of that is?
The effect of the embargo in Cuba is big. Just take into consideration that the largest number of Cubans living outside of Cuba are living in the United States. So there's still today, there's so many restrictions, for example, to send money to Cuba, to wire money to Cuba. there are many, many restrictions. Cuba wants to open a business. It would be very difficult to get a loan from the bank, to get a credit for the bank. That doesn't exist. So basically, you will need someone abroad to support your business in Cuba. There are so many limitations in order to receive money, for example. That is one of the many points that I could mention now.
Okay. Jerry, if you have other questions too that pop up that come to your mind, jump in, and Megan as well. We've got a couple more that have been sent in.
Okay. So the question then is regarding the embargo. I assume, therefore, that overwhelmingly the people of Cuba would like the embargo to be dropped because the people are the ones that are suffering because of this embargo, right? In other words,
I agree.
Yeah, you want the embargo done away with. And from those of us who are, in a sense, campaigning or urging our government to stop the embargo, and President Obama has started to move in that direction. We need the Congress to vote for that. But the embargo has no purpose anymore because it obviously hasn't worked. If the initial goal was to change your government, well, it hasn't worked. You still have the same government, still the same people in charge. So the view should be, why are we punishing the people of Cuba? You haven't done anything wrong, So we need to stop that here. But that's what the campaign is here in America. What is the big issue? There's still some people who want to keep it, but they're still fighting, 50 years ago, the Cuban Missile Crisis or whatever, or Bay of Pigs. But it has no purpose anymore. It's not like those of us here in America are worried that Cuba is going to invade America. What is the purpose? We recognize China, and we do business with China, and China has a communist government. So I don't even understand what the possible reason could be for keeping an embargo anymore on Cuba.
I don't think there is any reason for the embargo. But yes, there is a sector in the U.S. Congress nowadays. Cubans who went to live in the United States right after 1959, and they are powerful. They represent that mentality in which Cuba should be punished for the nationalization process. If the embargo didn't work, well, why don't they try something else?
So, Jesus, it's Megan. How are you?
Oh, Megan, how are you? I'm fine, thank you.
So, quick question. What is the one thing that you wish that there was more of in Cuba?
Oh, for sure. Many more economic opportunities, better infrastructure, better access to the internet, better communications, and I would like to see a boost on food production, for example. I would love to see renovation of old buildings, not only in old Havana, but all along the country. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
And Jesus, there was an article in the New York Times that a number of us read, 4 or 5 days ago, about 4 guys from Cuba who built a sailboat secretly, then sailed it across the water to Key West, and they made it because the rules are if you're picked up by a Coast Guard cutter, they bring you back to Cuba, correct? But they made it. So here's the question: is it possible for people to leave Cuba freely? And if the answer to that is yes, why do some, even as recently as last week, take the chance of coming across an open body of water in a boat? Can you talk to us about that?
In 2013, the migratory policy changed in Cuba. Cubans before 2013 needed a permit from the Cuban government to travel abroad. That doesn't exist anymore. Cubans nowadays only need an entry visa to the country that they want to visit. Also, they need money, they need a passport, and to travel is expensive. In the case of the United States, it's, as I said before, the largest Cuban community abroad, and there is also a major attraction. It's called the Cuban Adjustment Law. None better, wet food, dry food. Cubans are encouraged by that law. If Cubans go to the U.S. Embassy here in Havana to ask for a visa to visit the United States, it is very common that they are denied the visa. They are not granted a visa to go there. So it's very common to see Cubans leaving the country to Central America nowadays. Many Cubans are afraid that that law I mentioned before is going to disappear. And that is the way in which many Cubans are solving their problems nowadays. There is a deep economic crisis in Cuba nowadays, and many Cubans are solving their problems with the immigration.
Okay. Hey, Jesus, thank you very much for doing
Thank you
this.
so
And by the
much.
way, we came to Cuba as part of sort of a people-to-people exchange, and what we're doing tonight, and we may do it again in the future, is all part of that. So we want to give a round of applause to Jesus Noguera.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
And
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, and let's
for giving
keep
me the
talking,
chance.
Jesus. We'll be in touch,
Yep.
and we'll do more of this, okay?
Bye, Jesus.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
All right,
Absolutely.
bye-bye. And by the way, and we've said this before, and he's actually gotten some contacts from people through our podcast, but if you're planning to travel to Cuba, he's a professional and certified guide and translator.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so he's somebody that if you're going to Cuba and you want to have somebody who is guiding you, translating for you, you don't have to have that, but if you'd like that, just email us through jerryspringer.com, Jene at jerryspringer.com. Jene is Jene, and I'll happily give you his
Yeah,
information.
we'll put you in touch.
And he was fantastic.
He really was. And honestly, you should try to go now because
Yeah.
in a couple of years, the place is going to be, once they open up, travel between the two countries, they're going to be overwhelmed by American tourists. I mean, that's the truth. And it's going to become, and that's one of the things, by the way, they're a little scared of,
Right.
is they're so proud of their culture. And, once you start getting all the American tourists down there, they're going to be building big hotels and all that. And after a while, honestly, it's just going to look like Miami Beach South. And they worry about that. They don't want their culture to change. And so if you want to see Cuba as Cuba is untouched, now's the time to go. So
You know who's in
Pretty cool.
control of that problem you just laid out are the Cubans and the Cuban government.
Yeah.
And I've been reading some of that too, that worry, but they seem to be pretty adamant about we're not going to let that happen. We
Yeah.
may expand.
Yeah.
And you just heard Jesus say that Megan asked a great question, what do you wish there was more of? He rattled off a lot of things. He's
Infrastructure,
it's not
absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
somebody who's puppeting for the Cuban government.
Right.
He's just a Cuban guy that wishes there was more infrastructure and better communication,
Yeah.
internet, etc.
the unstated thing, without getting into that whole debate, or not debate, discussion about it though, but the unstated thing is that, bluntly put, as an economic model, communism doesn't work. And so the way communism gets saved is only when they start bringing some free enterprise in, which is why they want the embargo lifted so they can get some investments from overseas. It's what's China doing. It's basically, except with the possible exception of North Korea, every communist society on the planet Earth has eventually started to bring some form of free enterprise, because that's how you get the economy moving again. That's not to suggest that there aren't real problems with capitalism and all that. So I'm not trying to stir a debate here, but, they've had communism for 50, 60 years, and there are severe economic problems there. And you can't say it's just because of the embargo, because if you say that, then you're admitting that you need capitalist investment in order to make that thing work. What you need is a combination.
Well, you know, Jerry, and we remember this when we studied it. We all went to college. The three
You
of
went
us
to
on
Xavier.
Yes, but the socialism,
Yes.
which is probably what Cubans say they are.
Right.
Now, there is a communist party.
Right.
Right.
But remember, in 1961, when Fidel Castro, before they went to Playa Girón, which is what we call the Bay of Pigs, Fidel Castro, in the center of Havana, we saw the spot, announced that they were starting a socialist government. Those words get used interchangeably, but there's a huge difference between communism and socialism.
Yes.
And just in a quick nutshell, socialism is a mixed economy. You control the big driving forces of the capitalist system.
Yes.
Things like transportation, banking, etc., utilities, etc. But there's intended to be running room for small businesses. You just can't have big businesses.
Yeah.
You can't have a franchise. So there always was, but it's growing under Raul Castro.
Right. And they're
it
different
really is
forms.
expanding under him.
And there are different forms of socialism. So you can have socialism that you have, let's say, in Sweden.
Right.
And then there's socialism that you have in China or in Cuba. And the difference is that in the kind of socialism you have in Sweden, there is political freedom. There's political democracy. And what Cuba has not had, to be fair, or China, is you don't really have political freedom. And that's what the difference. So the politics are different. The economic system, you're absolutely right.
I
Communism.
was speaking of the economic system.
On the economics, you're absolutely right. Socialism is the means of production owned by the government, but you can have private enterprise. Communism is the government owns everything. And that's what the difference is. But the political freedom is what separates, what life is like, really, in those societies.
Hey, and we've got something coming up, and we have been doing this now for years on this podcast, for all the years we've been doing the podcast.
The year. Singular.
Yes, you're
Pardon me?
only one letter off.
But we have
Gene, that's pretty damn good.
we have this promotion called "Would You Like to Date Megan?" and we've had numerous people contact.
Oh, my gosh.
Some from afar, some nearby, and
Yes.
luckily tonight, and I've made contact. He made contact with me a month or two ago, and a gentleman is here. I'm going to use his first name when we actually do this, and he'll decide. Tell us when he comes to the mic if he wants to use his last name, because you never know. I mean, he's not married. We've edited it.
Thank you,
Megan.
Gene.
That's
And
It's a big step
right,
up.
because one of the first people we had here.
The
turned
first
out,
one.
Not only was he married, he brought his wife.
With him.
With
he
him.
sure did.
I mean, that
Yeah.
is.
So we started asking that question, did we, gentlemen?
We were rooting for him, but Megan said, "No, not doing that."
That is my show.
That is your show. And we're not using this as a recruitment base for your show, sir.
Well, it would make it tax deductible.
Just throwing that out there for the business plan.
Before we do that, though, I wanted to ask you something, Jerry.
Yes, Gene.
This situation, these articles we've seen, this drumbeat of, is Donald Trump leading us into a fascist direction? Is he Adolf Hitler reincarnate? And you have some pretty interesting thoughts on this. I've heard just a little bit of that. Talk to us a little bit. What's your analysis of that attack that some make?
Well,
Do you make it?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is this isn't something that the three of us just got together. Hey, let's talk about Trump being like Hitler. There's seriously in very serious publications from New York Times or whatever, and magazines, the issue being raised about Trump possibly being a racist, certainly appealing to racists, and are we moving towards Adolf Hitler, or is he the next Hitler, or whatever? Let me say, just from my point of view, first of all, there are many reasons that Donald Trump should not be the next president of the United States. He's the first, as I said last week or a couple of weeks ago, at least for the last 100 years, we've never had a candidate from a major political party run for president who was against the idea America, and Trump is. Trump wants to replace, in a sense, metaphorically speaking, the Statue of Liberty, get rid of that, and instead have a wall as the symbol of America. No Muslims, get rid of the Mexicans, deportation and all that. So everything that is absolutely against what the Declaration of Independence was all about. So he is very anti-American in terms of the notion that America, remember, is an idea. And he's the first person ever to run for president from a major party that is against the idea America. So that's a reason to vote against him. Also, in fairness, he could be the nicest guy in the world, but his lack of knowledge about government or how the world operates, he has no experience in it, and he has no knowledge in it. And you see that when they try to ask questions, then he gets all blustery and everything. So he doesn't know it yet. Doesn't mean he couldn't learn it at some point, but he doesn't know anything about that at this point. And frankly, he's a little bit unstable. Anyone who disagrees with him, he goes after, and just rudely, and just like a junior high school kid in the schoolyard. I mean, just really embarrassingly brutalized. And when I say unstable, you can't have this kind of a person with his finger on the nuclear button. And he gets so angry at people that are against him. What happens when other countries start saying bad things about us, as they inevitably do? That's what world politics is. Are we going to start a war with every country? Are we going to go to war with Mexico? He talks about, he won't say that he won't use nukes. So are we now saying he's going to get rid of ISIS? Are we dropping a nuclear bomb on ISIS? Where exactly does that bomb land? And do you think when the nuclear bomb comes down, the atoms seek out ISIS members and go around someone who's not a member of ISIS? I mean, it's just so ludicrous, but it's so dangerous. So this presidential election is different because this has nothing to do with Republicans versus Democrats, liberals versus Republicans. We've always had that. And let's have that debate. But this isn't a liberal against a conservative. This is a liberal against we don't know what. I mean, there is no political ideology with Donald Trump. It's all personality driven. So there are a lot of reasons that you can't have this person be president of the United States, even if you're a diehard Republican. You got to love your country first before you love your party. And just as Democrats have turned on their own when we had a candidate that was way outside the mainstream, Republicans have to be willing to do that too. Having said that, we lose the common sense of this discussion once we start equating Trump with Hitler. Please pay attention. No one is Adolf Hitler. Got it? Nobody. It just discredits, it dehumanizes, it makes it trivial anything that happened in the 30s and the 40s. Donald Trump may be absolutely incompetent to be president of the United States, but he's not Adolf Hitler, okay? We don't have stormtroops. We don't have concentration camps, death camps. So because as soon as you start raising that as an issue, no one's going to listen to you anymore because that's obviously so stupid. Trump should not be president of the United States, but he's not Adolf Hitler. Trust me on that. I know what Hitler did. Okay. Now, but why does this discussion even get raised? Because Trump is doing something that history has shown dictators ultimately follow. In other words, there's a lesson to what he's doing. I don't know if Trump is a racist because how do I know what's in his mind? What I do know with empirical evidence that he is appealing and using language which appeals to people who are racist. So understand, not everyone who votes for Trump is a racist, but every racist is for Trump. And you look at it. Banning the Muslims just because of their religion. Deporting Mexicans, 11 million of them. Not being able to disavow for quite some time David Duke. Saying, I'll pay the legal expenses for the thugs that beat up on some of the black people that are at his rally, even if they're protesting. Saying, I'll pay for your defense. Every white supremacist group that has stated an opinion in this election has endorsed Trump. all the websites that are these racist websites that people weren't going to, all of a sudden, Trump has given them cover because he can talk in a language that they get. And now all of a sudden they feel empowered. That's what I mean by he is giving cover to people that are now racist, can come out of the woodwork and support someone who will follow a lot of the policies that they want. Damn them Mexicans. We don't want them Muslims. Turning America into a tribal society. Now, here's where it gets ugly. We've had racists before. Let's be fair. 50, 60 years ago, it was the Democratic Party that gave cover to racists, Southern Democrats. Why do you think the Democrats won every office in the South for almost 100 years? Because the Republicans back then were viewed as the party of Lincoln. They were the ones that wanted to do away with slavery. The Democrats were the opposition party, and the Southern Democrats, that was the party that if you were a racist, doesn't mean every Southern Democrat was, but if you were a racist, you could be very comfortable voting for these Democratic senators and congressmen. And then along came Barry Goldwater, and along came Richard Nixon, and the new Southern strategy. So starting in 1964, 1968, for the first time, the entire South voted Republican, and it's been Republican ever since. Why? Because Lyndon Johnson pushed to pass the Civil Rights Act. And so now the Republican Party became more of the cover, and you wind up with someone like Trump right now. But here's what happens. When times are tough, and this is not just in America, this is throughout the world, when times are tough, someone will inevitably want to seek power by seeking a scapegoat. When times are tough, people get angry. So right now, we hear on every news program you watch, whatever the network, boy, people are angry. The voters are angry. That's why they're voting for Trump. They're angry. It is normal that in tough times, people get angry. I'm losing my job. My wages aren't going up. I can't get health care, whatever the reason. People get angry. So someone decides, I'm going to run on this anger. But that's not enough. If you only run on the anger, the people will eventually get tired of you because you don't have any solutions. And the truth is, a lot of what people are angry about now, there are no quick solutions. If there was, someone would have thought about it already. You know, globalization. It's good for a lot of people, but it's also bad for a lot of people, those that are losing their jobs. So there are no quick answers to any of this. But they're angry. So you don't have any solutions. You've got the anger. You build on that, but that's not enough. And this is where it becomes dangerous. If you can combine that anger that people have with something that's positive and makes them feel good, now you got something. And what is that? Patriotism. This is what all the dictators in history have done. Somehow you find a scapegoat. You get the anger and you look for a scapegoat. The scapegoat is invariably a minority. Obviously, you wouldn't have a majority being the scapegoat because that'd be most people. You'd never get their support. So you go after a minority. It could be racial minority, ethnic minority, national or cultural. Some minority. And so Hitler went after the Jews, and the same with Stalin with the pogroms. And Hussein went after the Shiites. You find some minority in your culture or racial minority, and they're the bad guys. Because now the whole majority says, aha, they're the bad guys. And now what you do is you wrap that anger that you have, you found a villain, even though it has nothing to do with the problem, and you wrap it in patriotism. They're not one of us. And now you can feel good about your racism. You can feel good about your anger because you're, by God, I'm an American. Let's make America great again. And you use the positive feeling of patriotism. We're all standing up in the seventh inning, singing God Bless America. You get that patriotism, and you wrap the flag around the scapegoat of those minorities that are causing the problem. Get them damn Mexicans out of here, them damn foreigners. Keep the Muslims out. So you have anger, which is natural because things are bad. You've created a scapegoat, which is a minority. It's an easy opponent to go after because they're a minority by definition. And to make you feel good about it so you're not ashamed, you build patriotism around it. That is what Hitler did. That is what Stalin did. That is what all dictators do. Love of country gives them the right to say, we don't like you, minority. You are the cause of our problems. And then the leader doesn't need to have any solutions anymore. Because now you're loving your country. We're going after the bad guys. The danger is where you cross the line is at some point these leaders have to calm this anger, otherwise there's chaos. And more often than not, that's where it becomes militaristic. That's where it becomes more of a police state. You have to start showing some muscle. If all you're doing is saying they're the bad guys and you're not physically doing anything about the bad guys, you lose your support. That history has shown. First, there are troubled times. Then you look for a scapegoat. The scapegoat is always a minority. And then you wrap it around something that is positive, that can make you feel good and not guilty about that feeling, and that's patriotism. Play the music, get the troops, and start playing tough. That is the scenario which scares people about Trump. And that's why you see these articles. And I'll close with this. Yesterday, for those that are watching live, we had Memorial Day. And all of us honor those young people who just, the ultimate sacrifice, gave their lives. Lives were taken in support of America. The question that everyone has to ask, including those who run for president, and including the Donald Trumps of the world, you give a speech honoring the veterans and honoring the people that died on Memorial Day. My question to a Donald Trump is, how do you explain to their families what exactly it was that they died for? If you don't believe in the idea America, how dare you take their lives or let their lives be taken? You've got to first believe in the idea America, or you can't justify the price that these people paid. Shame on anyone who is against the idea America. You owe these families a lot.
All right. That was good. That was good. Hey,
And watch my show. It's on every day at 11.
There he is.
So we've been doing this promotion. Megan, I'm going to call it a promotion.
Is that
on
what it
behalf
is,
of the
Gene?
podcast. And you have to trust
Have you
Jerry
ever
and
gotten
Gene.
a promotion?
No. So the promotion
what does
is,
that
would
mean
you
to
like to date Megan? We've had a whole bunch of
right.
candidates from all over the country. And Robert, we have Robert with us tonight. Let's give
Hey,
a round
Robert.
of applause to Robert.
Woo.
Robert, hello.
Hello, thank you
And
for having me.
Robert, should we use your last name or?
We'll go with Robert for right now.
We'll go with Robert. Hey, we'll
I
see how
don't
it
blame
goes.
you, Robert. I
That's
don't
a good
blame you
idea.
at
See how
all.
it goes.
I've asked them if they could take my last name off this thing, and it's stuck.
This is Megan.
Well,
Anyways.
he's been staring at you the whole time.
He's terrified.
So,
It's you he was staring at, Jerry.
so the situation is we have on our website, jerryspringer.com, over on the right-hand side, prominent
It's the big
button,
blue
shall we say.
square.
A big blue square. Would you like to date Megan?
Very
we
subtle.
We had a number of contestants. Here's how it works. We vet the person, and we're still figuring out, Jerry, whether Megan gets a say in who she goes out with. You know, I'm not sure we should let
No,
her.
that would be pure capitalism.
I can-
We're-
That would be,
we're-
yeah.
we're
I'm right
still
here and I can hear you
socialists.
both. So,
The government will decide who you go out with.
Dear God.
And here we're the government. No,
And the winner will get a date, and the date will be a swell dinner at a great place, Covington, Kentucky, not far from here.
Yes.
And the Jerry Springer podcast will pay for it. That means Jerry will take out his checkbook and pay for the meal. And my wife and I
have
will
a
be
big breakfast.
We'll
so
be
you don't
like
have- I don't want to spend a lot on this dinner.
Yeah.
European chaperones. We'll, in The Godfather, remember
You
that? We'll
and
walk-
Bonnie are going to accompany.
And I'm going to have a GoPro on my ball cap, and we're going to video
It's the
this
thing
whole
every young woman dreams about, really.
That's right.
It truly
It does
is.
sound like fun.
I could see you wanting to go out with him, but having Gene.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, Bonnie mitigates. Bonnie's a nice.
Bonnie
person.
does help.
Bonnie's lovely.
She is. She's a lovely woman.
Okay, so welcome, Robert, and thank you for. And look, by the fact that Robert contacted us and said, "Hey, I'd like to come down and participate in this," there are no guarantees yet either way. I mean, people have to meet each other. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
because
saying?
you could decide you don't want to go out
Yeah,
with
or
Megan,
not
you
be
could decide
associated-
You don't want to go out with him.
These are all true things.
So, Robert, tell us, please, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Cincinnati boy by birth. Been here all my life. High school, I went away for 14 months. I went over to Germany during my junior year of high school.
Wow.
Graduated from high school and went to North College Hill, which
right.
is not too far from
Sort of
here.
a suburban
Yeah, very
Cincinnati
suburban.
high school. Good
And,
school, good neighborhood.
And later, I attended Miami University and ultimately graduated.
Oh, you're a
from
Miami
Cincinnati.
grad?
Yeah.
Miami
Yeah, that's a great
University,
school.
Oxford, Ohio, I
Yes.
take it, versus
Yes,
Miami,
correct.
Florida, but it's a
Correct.
great school. They call it the Harvard of the Midwest.
Yeah.
It's a
Miami
great school.
University is a very good
Yeah.
academic school, great place. Okay, but let's listen to this.
Now,
He's
I want to know what kind of
well-educated.
questions
Oh my
you've
gosh,
been
yeah.
asking. Now, did they ask you any questions at all before you came down here this evening?
Not really.
All right. Thank you for your candidness. So, Gene, this is not unlike
Well,
the
we're
business
asking
plan.
now.
We did ask you to breathe. And once he
We
breathed,
did. He's
he figured
breathing.
He's
Yeah.
breathing.
Look at you. Jerry's like, my job here is done. I've got nothing else.
Done.
So, have you ever been married?
I have been.
Okay. Do you have
Yes.
kids?
I do.
Now, these are
They're
questions, gentlemen. Pay attention.
See, I never
questions you
thought of asking that.
didn't think it all the way through, did you, there,
Yeah.
Gene?
So you have
How
been
many kids do you
married.
have?
I have been.
Let's
Two.
bring her on out. No, I'm sorry.
no. That's a TV.
That's inappropriate.
It is inappropriate.
Well, hang on one second, Robert. Would it matter? Clearly, Megan, you drew the line at a married couple wanting to date you.
Correct.
You drew the line.
I
there.
did. I thought that was-
You drew the line.
Yeah.
A couple of women have contacted
Which
us.
side of the line were you? You drew a line.
There was a line.
Megan, is it a deal breaker if a guy has been married?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
Is
no.
it a deal
Kids are
breaker if a guy
fine.
has a child?
No, not at all. No.
No.
Kids are fine. Ex-wives are fine. I don't want current wives. Babies under, a year-old probably want to stay away from that situation.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Other than that,
All right. Robert, what? Now, see, this is a question Megan would ask. I'm starting to think like Megan. This is good. What do you like to do for fun?
there we go,
I
Gene.
do
About that.
a lot of reading. I'm a confirmed true crime fanatic. I read a lot of
Ooh.
true crime. Very interesting to me. It always has been.
Have you ever
Anything-
committed true crimes?
Now,
No,
see,
not
that is
yet.
also an excellent question. Thank you.
Not yet.
The lawyer in me.
Have you ever?
Isn't it true that on November 3rd?
Have you ever
Is this
watched?
the most awkward thing you've ever been through in your life, Robert?
This is pretty
it?
awkward. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Oh.
well then-
No, not close. Not even close.
Okay. All right.
You ever watched the Jerry Springer TV show?
I have a few times, yes.
Oh,
Back
see,
like
that's
in
the
your
problem.
college days?
Yeah, around that time.
This is
Early
being
on.
taped.
Yeah.
Yes.
Early on.
Yeah,
early
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Early on, sure, because he's reformed.
Early
Right.
on.
Right.
And
No
you
one ever
are
missed currently one.
you're
seen it
employed
before.
because you started a new job. Again, we don't need to identify the company.
Oh, he's
or-
employed. You
Okay,
employed?
yes, I am. I am employed. I'm recently I made a career change. I work in the heating and cooling industry,
Okay.
and I've worked in financial services before that, and before that, I worked in another business that served homeowners.
Very
He's
cool.
moving
Okay.
up.
He is
Yeah.
very cool. See that gentleman employed, not
Yes.
currently married. These are all the things. Yes, very good so far.
Yeah.
Through no help of your own.
Right.
He's a decent human being thus
See.
far.
Yeah.
Do you have You probably have your own car. You probably drove down here.
I do.
Okay,
Yes.
so you
Not
didn't
the
ride the
Ludlow
Ludlow
City
City
bus.
bus. Came here.
Yeah. Yeah, one day
Okay.
it's going to be a That's why he was late, because he
He
couldn't.
was taking the.
He's waiting for the bus. He was
Now, do
Very
you-
simple car, nothing
And you
fancy.
do actually
There you
listen.
go.
Toyota Corolla.
a
Toyota Corolla is a good car.
And you actually listen to the podcast,
I do.
like
yes.
for real.
Well, thank you.
so
Yes,
there
I
he
do.
is. There's the audience
All right,
that we've been
now-
looking for.
Now, Jerry,
What's wrong with you? No.
I think he's a finalist, Jerry.
Oh,
very
my
entertaining.
gosh. Yes, you're
I think he's a
Very entertaining.
finalist. I think here's
But
my.
if there's a finalist, it's got to be someone he's competing against.
So far, we've got.
You
so
can't
far.
can't be the only one who's a finalist.
Well, he's
Right
not
now
the
he
only-
is.
he's
Right
not
now
the
he
only
is.
finalist.
He's not
No.
married.
What?
He's not married.
No,
So,
well,
yeah.
he's not the only finalist.
You're
We
doing
probably
great.
have 4 or 5 finalists. The problem is no one is not a finalist.
We're going to have to take this offline because I don't know about those other 4
Yeah,
finalists.
well, hey, Megan, I've been talking to some people.
I'm doing much better so far than I thought I would.
Yeah, I think it's
you're
going
doing
great.
great.
I think it's
Yeah,
going
no.
great.
That's great.
You're fine. It's these
so
two
the
I'm
deal
concerned
is,
with.
All right.
we will. I have your contact information.
Wait,
And-
now, to be fair, do you have any questions for me? I mean,
Yeah.
What do you like to do? I told you what I like to do. I read a lot of true
Yep.
crime, like that stuff. What do you like to do? Do you read? Do you?
I do. I'm an avid reader. I just finished Girl on a Train, actually. A girl at work told me about it. I
that
loved
is
it. Was
great.
such a
That is
good
great
book. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be right
Such-
with you. That was
Such a good book.
Yeah.
Well, I actually read it twice because there's
Yeah.
2 of them. There's a girl
Oh.
on a train and the girl on a train. But yeah, no, I read a lot. I like history. I like history theater, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Are you originally from Cincinnati?
I grew up in Northern Kentucky. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. This is really weird. I've never had this conversation in front of a bunch of people before.
You know, this is weird. I never thought that we should have him ask you questions. This is good.
This is good.
I never thought of that.
Never. I tell you what, your mind is just.
Yeah.
Megan, do you have any pets?
I do have a pet. I have a dog named Colonel Fitzwilliam, and he's
Okay. What kind of dog is that?
he's a Cavalier King Charles. He's my buddy.
okay. Yeah,
He's 5.
Robert,
Yeah,
do
but-
you have
okay
a
with
pet?
dogs?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I like dogs. I grew up with dogs. I have a cat.
Okay.
As a practical matter.
Pretty allergic
Being
to
a
cats,
single
though. I
person,
gotta tell you,
Well,
Yeah.
being a single, a cat is
pretty allergic to cats.
lower maintenance.
You are.
Oh,
so you're
severe.
saying he has to get
Really
rid of the
allergic
cat.
to cats.
Yeah.
No,
So
the cat's got to go, even to be considered. To be a finalist, does he have to kill his cat?
Wow. We're
Well,
taking
here's-
a-
No, I don't know. No.
we just got a little ahead
We're
of
not
ourselves.
killing any
there,
cats.
Yeah. Just a
Escalated
heads
quickly.
up, she's not coming over.
Oh, well, she's
A
allergic.
cat can go into another room. I just have to throw it out there, like severely allergic
Yeah.
to cats.
But what about the hairs?
That's
on the
good to
couch?
know.
It's I mean I don't know what his cleaning habits are, so I would assume that
Megan,
one
are
has
there
a cat.
any other medical things you want to talk about? Well, I don't know.
Why wouldn't I? With you too. Why wouldn't I want to discuss medical
no.
history with the both of you?
What else?
If
Any
I
other
say
questions,
itch,
Megan?
what comes to mind?
What?
Hello.
Hey, I think this is great. I think that we could have a winner. No, no.
We'll see. We'll
No.
see.
No, this is.
But you're a nice guy.
No,
Hey, thank
super
you
nice
very
and
much,
such
Robert.
a good
You're a good
sport.
sport. You're a
Let's
real
hear it
good
for
sport.
Robert.
Hey,
Yeah, Robert.
that is great.
We will keep the audience apprised of, because this is something that's been
It's
going
what
on for probably
we in the
6
business
years
call
now.
evergreen, right?
It's an
Gene?
evergreen.
Yeah. This
But-
could replace American Idol.
Oh dear
Yeah.
God.
Hey, I wanted to ask Dave Faul if he would come up
Yeah.
here.
Hey,
Dave Faul.
Dave, come on.
Folk singer. I've got to call him a folk singer. Let's see, he might identify himself as that, or maybe another roots music category. But heard him a number of times because he does a lot of performing, a lot of places, but including at the Folk School Coffee Parlor. And he is our musical guest this evening, and I'm going to ask David to lead us off with a song, if you would.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome.
No more sad songs. I'm putting on my happy face. I'm putting on new clothes and hitting the town tonight. That'll show 'em I'm alright. No more drinking. Well, maybe just one more before I go. Maybe just one more to kill some time. Just one pour will do me fine. Ooh, I'm tending in the Garden of Eden. And I intend to dig my feet, grow new roots again. And soon we'll wait and reap the harvest, and plant again in the darkness, and grow new roots again. No more remembering, 'cause I'm teaching myself to forget. Finally learning how to forgive. Finally learning how to live. Ooh, I'm tending in the Garden of Eden. And I intend to dig my feet and grow new roots again. And soon wait and reap the harvest, and plant again in the darkness, and grow new roots again. No more sad songs. Look, mama, I'm putting on my happy face. I'm putting on new clothes and hitting the town tonight. That'll show 'em I'm alright. No more remembering, 'cause I'm teaching myself to forget. And I'm finally learning how to forgive. Finally learning how to live. Ooh, I'm tending in the Garden of Eden. And I intend to dig my feet and grow new roots again. And soon we'll wait and reap the harvest, plant again in the darkness, and grow new roots again. Grow new roots again. Grow new roots again.
David Faul, spelled, by the way, F-A-U-L, and that's important because you can find his music at davidfaulmusic.com, F-A-U-L music.com. Latest CD is live at the Red Barn. And by the way, David not only performs at the Folk School Coffee Parlor here in Ludlow, Kentucky, but he also does lessons, guitar lessons, I'm assuming, here, right, David? And
Yep.
If you get in touch with the Folk School Coffee Parlor, see if he has some slots open. Would you do a second song for us?
Definitely.
All right, appreciate it.
Something's gone missing in my life. Could be I'm missing you tonight. But I've grown tired of all this waiting, and I'm wondering that if I was wrong, I guess it maybe means that you were right. I wanna run free, like I am young again. I wanna shake this dust and shed my skin. need someone that I can hold on to. And it could even be someone like you. And it goes dark and cold in the morning when I'm waking, when I'm wondering if I'll ever finally find a way to kill the blues. I wanna run free, like I am young again. I wanna shake your dust, you stained my skin. I wanna know how it feels to learn how to fly. I'm gonna crack the code that unlocks the sky. I am young again. Help me shake this dust and shed my skin. I want to know how it feels to learn how to fly. I'm gonna crack the code that unlocks the sky.
DavidFaulmusic.com. Faul spelled F-A-U-L. Good job, David. Would you take us out on Irene Goodnight and let Jerry Springer sing a verse with you here? Be unbelievable.
Last Saturday night I got married. Me and my wife settled down. Now me and my wife have parted. I'm gonna take a little stroll downtown.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.
I'll see you in my dream.
Jerry Springer.
Sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I take a great notion to jump in the river and drown.